What's happening, everybody? Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter, and it is time for probably the most bittersweet video that I do all year. Arrivederci Roma, it's time for us to part. The Stanley Cup Finals prediction video for the 2014 NHL playoffs. We've come down to the final two teams in the NHL this year. In the Western Conference, we have the 2012 Stanley Cup champions, 3 consecutive times Western Conference finalists, 2-time Western Conference champion now, Los Angeles Kings, taking on the surprise New York Rangers in the Eastern Conference. Their first time making the Stanley Cup Final since 1994, of course, when they won it all on the back of Mark Messier and Mike Richter. And this is going to be a great Stanley Cup Final. But let's talk for a few minutes about how these two teams got here. We'll start in the East. The New York Rangers defeating the Montreal Canadiens in 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals to make it to the Stanley Cup Championship round. Ryan McDonagh was one of the big stories for the Rangers in this series. 10 points for the Rangers from the blue line in that series. Great numbers there. And of course, Henrik Lundqvist pitching the shutout there in the last game. New York wins Game 6, 1-0. And I mean, I'm a big Montreal fan. A part of me, deep down, just as a hockey fan with a bias, wants to try and find an excuse, wants to try and find a scapegoat. You know what I mean? I think every fan has those moments. You can't find a scapegoat in this series. I mean, you can't blame the referees. You really can't blame the injury to Carey Price because Dustin Tokarski played phenomenally. I mean, like, you couldn't ask any more from Dustin Tokarski in this series. You really can't find a scapegoat. The only thing that it all comes back to is the better team won. New York carried the majority of the play through the series in the majority of every game, and really when it mattered, I mean, the King delivered. Henrik Lundqvist, probably one of the best goaltenders in the world. Well, no, probably, definitely one of the best goaltenders in the world, and he delivered, and he gets to go to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in his career, so I'm very happy for Henrik Lundqvist. I'm happy for the New York Rangers and their fans. I'm happy for the Canadiens and our fans, too, because nobody thought that we were going to make it this far. Very few people thought we were going to beat the Big Bad Bruins. We did that. I thought we had enough to beat the Rangers, but you know what? The Rangers came out right from the opening face-off of Game 1, and they imposed their game. They played extremely well. The better team won the series. Hats off to the Rangers. We go to the Western Conference now. The Western Conference Final saw the LA Kings and the Chicago Blackhawks meeting for the 2nd year in a row. Again, as I said, the Kings have made the Western Conference Final 3 straight years now. Very big accomplishment for that team. They always just seem to keep getting back there. The Kings have won every single one of their series in this playoffs in 7 games. This is the very definition of clutch. I've said it in the last couple of videos. The Kings are a team that are built to win Game 7s. They just have those clutch performers, Jonathan Quick, Dustin Brown, Justin Williams. They've got these clutch performers, these guys that pull out all the stops when it matters most in a Game 7 situation, and that's exactly what they did against Chicago. They got up 3-1 in this series. Chicago, defending Cup champions, they clawed all the way back to take it to a Game 7, and in the final play of the game, it was those big game players for Los Angeles who made the plays, kept the pucks alive, set up that game-winning goal, and the Kings did it again. And I didn't think they were going to do it. I picked Chicago. I unapologetically picked Chicago. I definitely thought they were going to win that series, and I thought they were going to win Game 7, kind of break LA's Game 7 streak. Didn't happen. The Kings are a great hockey team. Top to bottom, they're a great hockey team. They're very good, and this is a credit to the coaching staff and to the players, very good at getting the most out of, I don't want to say the least, but getting the most out of even their 4th-line players. And that seems to be a bit of a general motif in these playoffs. The teams that made it the farthest are the teams that can roll 4 lines and roll 3 defensive pairs. And they're not playing like a quote-unquote John Tortorella style, where a coach like Tortorella will constrict and he'll start playing a two-line game or a two-defensive pair game. These teams didn't do that. They rolled all four lines, got production from all four lines, and any team, all four teams that made the conference finals in the East and the West were those kind of teams that could roll four lines deep. Big congratulations to the Chicago Blackhawks for another fantastic season. If they keep that core together, I get the feeling they'll be right back here again next year, and big ups to the LA Kings. I've been saying all season that I thought whoever won the Western Conference was going to be the team to win the Stanley Cup. Again, I was confident that that was going to be Chicago. It ends up that it's not Chicago. It ends up that it's Los Angeles. The Rangers aren't really tested in the biggest big game situations in the conference finals and the Stanley Cup because, again, this is their first time making it to the Stanley Cup finals in 20 years. So now the big question is, which way am I going to go? Am I going to stick with my gut and say that the Western Conference team, that the Kings, are going to win the Cup for the second time in 3 years? Or do I really feel like that Martin St. Louis magic, that Henrik Lundqvist magic of being in the Cup final for the first time, is that what I think is going to win out? There are so many aspects of this series that I really consider to be a wash. Coaching, I think, is a wash. Goaltending, I think, is a wash. Defense, I think it's a wash. LA has the bigger superstars on defense, but in terms of playing a whole team defensive game, New York is right up there with LA, so I think that's a wash. In a series that boasts Jonathan Quick and Henrik Lundqvist in goal, I actually think it's going to be the offensive-minded players for each team that's going to dictate this series. And given that opinion, my official prediction for the 2014 Stanley Cup Finals is that the New York Rangers in 6 games will defeat the Los Angeles Kings to win their first Stanley Cup in 20 years. I would not be surprised in the least to see every game in this series decided by a single goal. I would not be surprised in the least to see at least 3 of those 6 games go to overtime. And I am not going to be surprised in the least when Martin St. Louis plays the series of his life and becomes the difference between winning and losing the Stanley Cup. I predict Martin St. Louis is going to put up double-digit points in this series. I think he will be the difference, and in maybe what might be a little bit of a ceremonial decision, I do believe Martin St. Louis will win the Conn Smythe Trophy. So that's it, folks. That's my call. In 6 games, I believe the New York Rangers will defeat the Los Angeles Kings to win the 2014 Stanley Cup. What's your prediction? Comments, hate, and love, and your Stanley Cup prediction in the comments section below. I want to hear them. That's it for me, Justin, Bridgewater's Finest on YouTube, Blockbuster_guy on Twitter. Been getting a lot of Twitter followers lately, so let's keep that going. We will see you next season for some NHL playoff predictions. Maybe I might do a little regular season stuff too. You never know. Kind of depends on what happens. But the next time you're going to see me on a weekly basis, it's going to be for the NFL, and the NFL's starting up sooner than you might think. Fantasy football season is open. We're going to have all kinds of football content for you once the season gets closer. Thank you very much for once again for another year supporting my hockey videos, and we will see you again next time.